myself, for my life. And I was gonna completely found my and in our culture, amongst all cultures, having long hair, because our hair is where all of our power is, where all of our money comes from. And that's when I realized it was time for me to grow my hair back. Because I shaved my hair when I was, I think, 19. 19, 20.
Yeah.
21, 22, something like that. Back when I made a big transition, when I finished being with their biological mother.
Yeah.
And I was on a different path now.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck yeah, time for a change.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And then I just maintained that for all those years, and then just came to a point where it was
Time to
yeah.
okay. Fair enough. What actually, this sort of going to ask, what other culture are you? What other, where are you from here? What's is your
Māori.
name the Māori one or?
Māori, Samoan. Those are the two primary ones. Chinese, and I'm guessing Caucasian because of a sort, because my mother, she's white.
Oh really?
Yeah, you met her before.
Oh,
Yeah, no, she's just white as day.
Yeah?
Daylight, yeah.
Okay then, cheers.
But because she was adopted, she's met her biological mother,
Yeah.
who's the blackest Māori I've ever seen. No, but seriously, she was really old school dark.
Yeah?
Like pure
Yes.
Māori. I think she's one of the last. I think she was one of the last.
Okay then.
But they don't know who the father is. Well, I asked my papa many times, and first time he said that he was Tongan, and then the next time he was white, which was more obviously believable.
Yeah.
And then next time he was something else, and I was like, okay, alright.
So you just come up with a traditional Tongan.
I was like, okay. I think he was getting a bit older every year.
Yeah.
Obviously, his grandparents for the year.
Have you thought about doing the old DNA tests and stuff like that?
I don't think she's gone and done it because she didn't have a great experience when she met her biological mother when she was younger.
Yeah.
And apparently that was an okay meeting. And then when we moved to Australia here, she found out that she was in Sydney somewhere.
Yeah.
And she actually travelled to go meet her. And then she pretty much got told, like, I don't want us to have a relationship or anything like that. Like,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah.
That really actually pissed my dad off because he was quite angry about the fact that, that happened. So that wasn't a pleasant meeting for her.
Sure.
Which then made sense, like now that I understand what trauma is after all these years and dealing with my own, and then realizing, oh shit, okay, that's why she was the way she was, and that's why she is the way she is now.
Yeah.
That's why everyone is the way they are now. Like if you abandon your children, they grow up with identity issues. They grow up with all sorts of attachment styles, as they're called, and all this stuff, and they grow up not having the confidence and the strength to be themselves, to be the best version of themselves, despite having, great parents that if they do, like my papa was always good to her.
Yeah.
But my grandmother, she was hard on her because there's old school of that generation people were like when you have when you have multiple children, the oldest one always takes responsibility for all of them.
Yeah.
If your sisters don't do their jobs, you're gonna get the smack for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, so it's up to you to make sure your sisters do their jobs, otherwise you're going to get the crap.
Yeah.
Not them, you are.
Yeah.
So she got that hard upbringing as well.
So
it
she was
didn't
the
help.
oldest?
She's the oldest.
Ah.
She's the oldest out of 3 sisters. So yeah.
Oh, okay, just three sisters. Oh, yeah. Did she have brothers?
No.
True.
Yeah, my papa never had any boys.
Oh, okay.
That's why when I came along, I was the first grandchild and I was the first boy.
Yeah.
And then everyone just started calling me son.
Yeah.
Because they were just like, finally, another male.
Yeah.
In the family. So I was everybody's son.
Yeah. Oh, okay then. Gee, I would have thought.
But that's my background anyways. Māori, Chinese, Samoan. There's German on my dad's side as well. Yeah, my grandmother's dad was German.
Yeah.
And her mother was Samoan, and my dad's dad was Chinese, and his mother was Samoan.
Damn.
So this is back in the days when Chinese, Indians, and all nations were starting to really mix and live in different areas of the world like that, comfortably.
Yeah.
So
Damn. Okay, that's a wild. I actually would have thought your mum would have had a siblings, because, you know, my mum, she had 9 siblings. So she had...
Yeah, it's quite common back then, eh?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, back in those days, they had a lot of them, you know, so... But 3 is... Yeah.
That's why it's important to become a millionaire if you really love being a dad. Because then you can have more children.
Well, that's true too. Like I told my missus, bro, fuck, if we were rich, I would be able to have more kids.
Yeah.
But
you've also got to be able to give them all quality time,
Yeah,
right? Like if you had, like you've seen big families with too many kids,
yeah,
like it's always the middle kids and the youngest kids that always end up getting the least amount of attention.
yeah,
Or they get too much attention,
Yep.
like the baby, but then all the middle kids are just the middle kids.
yeah, that is true too.
Yeah.
I always try to equal my time with my kids, even though I have my favourite. I love all my kids,
Yeah.
but I do try to equal, especially my youngest one. She sort of knows, you know. Jaden, he's all good with it. He's cool, and with him, you know, we spend our time. I take him to basketball because I pretty much take him all the time to his games, his practice. If the missus wants to take him and she's not feeling up to looking after the girls in the afternoon, then I'll stay home and she takes him. But with my baby, if we get the chance, I always spend my time with her, let her know that I love her, you know. So I always tell my kids I love them, bro. It's just what I do. I want my kids to grow up to know that I love them and, you know, they were loved by their dad. So I don't want to be that dad that they don't love when they get older and shit like that. And yeah. So even that.
No, that's key. Kids do need to hear
Yeah.
a lot more than a lot of people realize.
Yeah.
And a lot of adults don't do that, a lot of parents don't do that.
That's sad.
I mean, unless you show, if you're really attentive and you show your children that you love them,
Yeah.
where they feel it without you having to say it,
Yeah.
that can be fine too, but it's also important to say it.
Yeah. Well,
And I noticed that when, as I was growing up, only certain people in my family would say it. Every single time.
Yeah.
Like, especially if they're leaving
Yeah.
or about to hang up.
Yeah.
Even now.
Yeah.
I like that, and that carried on and instilled into me.
Yeah.
But it also got to a point where, like in my early years, where I felt it drift.
Yeah.
Until I had kids.
Okay.
And then obviously when you have
You
kids,
started doing
I started doing it, you know, it just came back, and then, so now, and that's what I do with the girls always, especially now,
Yeah.
like since I haven't seen them in the last 15 months.
Yeah.
When I call them on the phone, I get that, you know, if the mother picks up, every single time as much as I can.
Yeah,
But not in a way where it's like for the sake of it.
Yeah. No, not to me.
Like even if you say it once in the most meaningful way, like with all your fucking heart and mind, and you're loving it, and they feel it.
It's like, even with Jaden, bro, I'll talk to him on the phone. Every moment he calls me, if he's at school or somewhere, or if he needs something, it's just always, I love you, you know. Even sometimes when we're angry at each other, there's a day where he just pisses me off. I'm just like, ooh, but I still tell him I still love him. And he still does it to me, you know. Even, like yesterday, he rang me up, he asked me something while he was at school, and I was like, I can't remember what it was. But after the conversation, he was like, oh, good, thanks, no worries, Dad, love you, bye. You know, even though it was a quick love you, it still means he loves me. And I was like, all good, love you too. And yeah. So I've instilled it in him that, you know. And it's crazy because in this day and age, I don't think there's many kids or with mates that tell their parents they love, because it's not a cool thing to do, you know.
They don't, bro.
No.
Like I've asked kids, and I even had this problem with, you know, the ex.
Yeah.
Because I had noticed for so long that I realized that I had never actually heard her say the words.
Yeah.
To anyone.
Yeah.
They don't say it amongst each other in their own family, and especially I didn't ever hear her say it to the kids.
Yeah.
Even till up at this point, like if I actually walked up to my daughters and said, "Has Mummy said I love you like at any moment today?"
Yeah.
And I can tell no one has said it to her. When I talk to her over the phone, no one has said the words "I love you," because when I say it to her, it's as if she's hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Again. So that's why I really push it in there.
No, yeah, that's it.
Even if it is for the sake of it, just to make sure that she doesn't lose her soul.
Yeah.
You know, and you can tell that the same thing with a lot of other parents and their kids. They're just not putting in that effort. And I understand, because if you haven't grown up with that, and I was even looking at like a lot of young guys guys actually are coming up, doing really well at acknowledging this, where they notice that their parents are awkward as fuck when they're trying to show affection or say I love you. And so it makes them awkward, even more awkward, and even more cringe. And it's like, okay, you kind of ruining it now. Like, you know what? I actually don't want to hear it.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
I don't even want to hear it.
Yeah.
But you know, my dad is the same. He's never been, and he's acknowledged it once. I think it was at my 21st birthday. He acknowledged that I'm not good at this physical affection stuff. So he's just like, high five. You know, he uses humor and sarcasm, you know. But now that I understand like the way he is, what he went through, what it causes people to be like, you grew up with trauma and all this stuff, and you never had the attention and your parents loving on you.
Yeah.
Now I didn't have that from them either, but I had my aunties, I had my nanny.
Yeah.
She was even more. She was super, you know.
Yeah.
She's the type of nanny that grabbed you as a kid and she's like,
you hugs and kisses and stuff like that.
And it's like it actually feels nice.
Yeah. No, that's it.
And then my papa was also the same. He never said it, but he made me feel it every single time. He didn't need to say it.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't need to say it. He'd hold me, the way he talked to me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a strong influence that a man has on his children is to make them feel it more than.
Yeah.
And if you do that right, because you embody it, not just for. I've even told people like, even if it's hard for you, just do it to get used to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just say I love you. And then over time, you say it as much as possible throughout the day. Yeah. Over the months, over the weeks, over the years, it'll start to come out, and you'll start to get more confident and comfortable with being able to say it to your children. But it also starts with how you, like, can you say it to yourself? That's what really hit me hard. That's what really, like, I think about. I wouldn't think about or care about whether I love myself, because I never thought about it. Then I thought, like, once the girls came along, like, would I want them to feel like this? Yeah. And that's when I snapped out of it. I was like, hell no. Hell no, do I want my girls to ever not love themselves? Yeah. You know?
What's the saying? There's a saying, you have to love yourself before you love everybody else.
That's it.
You know? So.
And it's something that was always just naturally just smoothed in. Yeah. Like when we were our indigenous ancestors, you know, we just had that natural integrity built into us because it was around us. Everyone had it. Yeah. But then slowly over time, as colonization happened and the tribe separated and was colonized and all this trauma started getting on top of people and being desolated and all this stuff started making us down, you know, weaken the spirit and the heart and the mentality around it to the point where you look at a lot of people that you can tell, you look at their families and their children, you just seems very transactional. Yeah. Like a transactional relationship. Yeah. Yeah. And you see people and you hear parents talk to their children and acknowledge them by their first name like they're some adult. You know? Yeah. Like no nickname, no son. Yeah. Or anything like that. Which I guess is fine to a certain degree. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I mean, this is like I still say, you know, Zedekiah's name, Lycian, like that. But that's when I'm calling out to them. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And that's even a half and half. All my kids have pretty much nicknames. Yeah. That are specialized for them. Based on my relationship with them in some way, shape, or form. You know, Zedekiah's Mucky, Lycian's Munchkin, Leica is Baby Bear, you know, or whatever I'm feeling like calling her in the moment. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, actually, Nirvana is just Vana, just short for Nirvana, but that was her name going by. Because when Lyric was, you know, only starting to speak, Vana was the easiest way to call it, and then we all started calling her Vana. And then Lyric, she's Lili, just short for Lyric, you know?
Is it recorded?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, so she's just Lili.
Who's Lili?
Lyric.
Lili.
We just call her Lili.
That's nice.
So that's
unique too.
Yeah, I don't know where that actually. I think that was.
I don't think I've ever heard that time.
No, it's short for Lily. Oh no, it's not short for Lily. It's just Lala. I think it was Nirvana. They both gave each other their short names. Yeah, yeah. Because Nirvana couldn't pronounce Lyric at one point because she's got a speech impediment, and it just started off as Lala, and then we just started calling her Lala, and it's stuck ever since, you know. Yeah. So, but as for Jaden, well, he's just Jaden. That's it. Or just son. You know?
Oh, there you go.
So it's
Like when you acknowledge this. See, that's one thing that like my dad does. He does still call me son. He doesn't call me by my first name. He still calls me son.
yeah,
Which is a bonus.
Yeah.
I guess. Considering that relationship.
yeah. I know how the feeling is, bro. I know the feeling. I mean,
Do you still talk to your dad? Is he still around?
yeah. It's funny you say that because we only connected properly many years ago. He came over for what was it? Somebody's birthday, I think it was, and the first time ever he asked if he could stay with me and Tracy, and I was like, yeah, sweet as. It was just the first time properly, and this was when we lived in Alchester, and he stayed with us. Like, I know this is not awesome, but he was a man who liked his colognes as well, and because I'm exactly the same. And one day he was showing me one of his ones, and it was quite an expensive one actually. And I was just like, and he said, I showed him mine, and he was like, oh, okay. So it was something we picked up on that he likes that, and he likes to be tidy as well. Like because he used to be in the Navy, my mum always told me that even his undies were ironed, because that was the Navy thing to do. Everything had to be done properly. I mean, I don't go that crazy, but I still like to tidy up my clothes and put them away and all that kind of stuff. It was just the simple things I picked up about me and him. And yeah, I mean, we do talk and we do connect, but I mean, he's supposed to be coming over soon. My brother's going to bring him over, and he's going to be staying for another 2 weeks, which I don't mind. Because every time, it's crazy, because every time he has stayed with us, I feel calm in the house, you know, like, I don't know what it is, but he's a calm dude. He's a real calm dude. Well,
That's why it's important for boys to have their fathers around.
Yeah.
Because unless they're toxic.
Well, I'll be honest, bro, he wasn't around with me when I was a kid. And I don't know.
Just that presence alone helps a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. My stepdad was more of a father to me. My stepdad's been in my life since I was 4 years old. And my sister was only 1, so he was the one who raised me as a father, had a father figure.
Where's he now?
I still with mum. They live back in Rotorua. So he was at the wedding as well, him and my mum. Yeah, so he was there. And now, we've got 2 other siblings together and stuff. They've got 2 other kids together. So
you got 3 other siblings. You got 4 siblings.
So there's
4 of you.
Yeah, so there's me and my sister, and then there's our other brother and sister, those 2 they had together. So, yeah, but, I mean, I always had this thing, bro. I was never really that thing to my dad growing up, and I always thought, and this was a thought back then when I was younger, if he ever passed away, it wouldn't really matter to me, because we never had that love between us, stuff like that, and he was never in my life. But that's changed over years, we're connected and stuff like that, and yeah, we still talk once in a blue moon, and every now and then I ask him how he is, it's short chatter, all that kind of stuff, but I still think, still care about him, so he is my father, and yeah, so yeah, it's
Yeah, it's one of those situations there that when you get to a certain age, and like you're a father yourself, you realize that it doesn't even matter if like you needed him then or now, stuff like that. You're in a position where you've got to just do what you need to do now.
Yeah.
And if you've got to figure it out your way, then you've got to figure it out your way.
That's it, bro.
You've got to just accept what happened, what didn't happen.
Yeah.
And focus on now with what for your kids.
Yeah, that's
so
it.
I've noticed a lot of fathers are starting to try and do, but a lot of them struggle to do. Because if they didn't have their father around to teach them how to be a man in general, and then to be a father, to teach them how to be a father, well then they got to figure it out on their own, and then they'll basically go by whatever influences they do have around them. And if none of the influences around them are strong, healthy, confident, calm, patient, intelligent, responsible, nurturing, compassionate, loving, all that stuff. And they won't pick it up. And if they try to, then you got to do a really good job at really figuring it out without any spillover or trying to be too much of this and too much of that. especially when my dad wasn't there, but he was there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I figured that can also be a problem. Like your dad is there, but he doesn't interact with you, doesn't play with you, doesn't talk to you or anything like that. You're still alone.
Yeah.
In fact, you're actually not only alone, but then you also get this sense of, why doesn't my dad want to do these things with me?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah. See, that's fun. It's funny you say that because, you know, I figured out life all by myself. You know, I mean, even though I had my stepdad there, he was good to the point where if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'd be today. You know, he put a roof over our head, food in our bellies, and all that kind of clothes on our back. But it wasn't that dad that pushed me to do sports and stuff like that and all that kind of stuff. You know, it was all those kind of manly talks and stuff like that. I figured all that shit out by myself when I grew up.
Yeah.
So that's why I try and instill all this stuff as a dad to my kids, you know. So all that stuff I missed out on, I do for my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. But don't get me wrong, I love my stepdad. He was a good man.
Yeah.
He still is a good man. So we get on really well, you know. So
I think one of the biggest struggles is also that by the time a boy becomes a man, the world has changed.
yeah,
Like the world is different.
yeah,
Like what we used to know and how things were before when we were a kid, you know, we think it would be kind of the same once we get old enough and we become a father and a man and all that, but then the whole world is different.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's different things like technology's around now, economy's like this, adults are like this now, because now you're around all the adults that grew up from your generation in the new world and so forth. So if your parents didn't prepare you for that or teach you how to ground yourself no matter what changes, then you get overstimulated. And that's what a lot of parents struggle with, is they get overstimulated with, oh shit, I gotta do this for my kids, give them what I didn't have. But then they've also got to understand, what kind of world are we living in right now? Like, what kind of world are we living in? What kind of world are my kids actually going to be living in by the time they're adults?
yeah,
And then you got to start learning to prepare them for that,
yeah,
as well as yourself. If you're still stuck, that's why a lot of fathers and men haven't grown up. Even if they have kids, they don't grow up. They're still the same boy on the inside because they didn't get taught how to be a man. They didn't get taught how to be a father. Same with actually girls as well. Like if they didn't have a dad around or a mother figure that was active, then they end up still staying very immature, and they like being able to take responsibility for things, and then it ends up being kids raising kids.
yeah.
Take it slow, Mogi. Zuko's outside, I can see him through the window. Just get the dustpan. Yeah, you notice that like so many men just sit around playing video games. And that's fine, like if you can afford and to do that, and your kids are healthy, you train today, you teach them about life skills, you have a great bond with them, and all that stuff, and that's what you want to do with your free time, sweet.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah.
That's
But
understandable.
if this is your escape after just go to work,
Yeah,
and your kids are sitting there, and they actually need more connection with you, but you just distract them with TV and video games because you want to distract yourself with TV and video games.
yeah.
Like they're gonna struggle in the world to come.
Oh yeah, definitely, bro. That's exactly
Like this is why self-mastery is key. And anyone can get themselves out of that stuff and better themselves to not only handle this world that we're in, but also prepare themselves, and especially because if you prepare yourself for the future that's coming, and you're able to handle the world as it is now, you'll be able to teach your kids to be able to be sweet.
That's true too. That's true.
So, and that should be the intention also before you even have kids, which is something that we used to get taught. Like when we were in our tribes, our elders would teach us how to love and respect our women before we even got one. So that when we do get one, we know how to look after them. Yeah. And then how to be a father also. How to raise your children, your daughters, your sons and all that. Yeah. How to look after your elders, how to look after the tribe, how to contribute. You get taught all that before you even have to do that. Yeah. It was just part of the natural environment. But if you're isolated by yourself and you grow up in an environment that just doesn't have that unity, as well as those influences. But then you got to be fortunate to be conscious enough to figure it out yourself before you don't end up in a worse state. Get out of it, thrive, and then be able to teach your kids how to do it.
That's it, bro. That's exactly right. A lot of people find that hard, though. You know?
Yeah. Like how do you thrive financially if you've never been taught about money?
Yeah, exactly right. I'm just gonna,
How do you even vote for someone that does well, that's going to look after the people? You don't even know how to vote.
yeah.
You don't even know who you're voting for. You don't even know how the legal system works. You don't even know how politics work. You don't even know how the government works. You don't know how all these things work because no one taught you. Well, then you got to go out and figure it out yourself,
That's it, bro.
which is hard to do if, let's say, you're someone that struggles with learning because your learning mechanisms were either not developed fully or they were traumatized, impacted in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Great to look at.